Okay, let's hop over into the next document and let's work on a Word doc this time, and specifically an annual report. So this is a veterinary clinic. They want to have colors of health and calm and competence, because we're talking about animals. With animals, of course, there's a lot of great opportunity for iconography and imagery. So let's look at producing something that has a great front page, carry that, which kind of some nice color splashes there, then take that color, bring it throughout, and break up some content with the icons. Now, first up would be, as with the other one, let's think about our fonts. So since this is a bit lighter in theme, so it is, wants to be calm and reliable, but it is pets and the wonderful happiness we have with that. Let's look for more of a display or script type of header font, and then another solid basic sans serif body text to be able to be read and be modern. So for this, I've located Flamenco and ASAP. So Flamenco having some really interesting curls and embellishments at the end of their letters, and ASAP being just a great solid base font. So let's apply that here. So first up for all of it, to make it a bit easier, we'll go ASAP. Now immediately when we're looking at this, if we jump ahead to spacing, so specifically spacing around the line height, it feels a little bit squished up. So let's work on the line height. So we'll select all the text, paragraph, as we said, trying to aim between 125% to 140 of whatever your font size is. Word does it with multiples, so I'll do it as a 1.3. There we go, much easier reading. You can see that if I just quickly undo, you can imagine trying to read this as opposed to trying to read this. Feels much nicer. And actually quickly, I want to try a 1.4 and see if that actually helps it a little further. I like that even better, so let's try with that 1.4. I think you'll find a design, a lot of it's like try it, compare it to the previous one, and just experiment. You're in here, you can have some fun. You always have undo. Control Z is your buddy. So next up we want to look at the headers. So this is the main header. Well, I guess we could start with the subheaders so we can do easier math. So if the main one is 11, we can go these subheaders. First make it Flamenco, and then 22. What a really nice font this one is, Flamenco. Leaning on one of our previous lessons of making sure it's different enough, just so clearly you can see the difference between these ones because of the embellishments on the letters. Are we missing some headers? I think we are. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I was thinking of having 4 different animals. So the dog report, the cat report, fish report, and the turtle report. Very good. Now for our main title, if this one's 22, we're going to be looking for at least 44. I wouldn't be surprised if we bump that up by the time we're done, but we'll see where we get to. 44. And report our veterinary clinic. Wouldn't mind keeping these two, this line together as opposed to apart. Let's work on the rest of that title page and see what we'll do with that font afterwards. So fonts are in good shape, and I think we'll kind of readjust it as we go. Now, as we said with our impact, one of the greatest ways is to just add a beautiful photo, of which I have done so with Mr. Business Dog here. That's how I like to conduct all of my business. So let's add that to the front page. Now it's going to mess around with all of our text at first, but what I'm going to do, if you remember my trick for Word, where it had the most flexibility in moving it around, have it go behind text. And you can see it immediately does that. Now, on this example of the inspiration that I'd found, it had a full page image except as a little twist on it, it kept a little white border all around the outside, almost like a Polaroid photo. Thought that looked really nice, so I'd like to try to replicate that here. let's go with that. I'm not sure if the photo is going to be too perfect, so I'll have to crop it to get it to about the right shape. It's one of the better parts of design because you just get to look at a dog while you're working for so long. Still not quite right. Let's see if we can just level it out, even it out. Make sure the spacing, or the white space, is the same around all the borders. In this case here, we'll crop it. Now you notice that it's cropping and not just editing the photo. Sometimes what you'll see is people trying to like squish it. And again, per the photo discussion, you do not want to warp the photos. So making sure you are cropping, not skewing or squishing it. Okay. So I don't like it being necessarily at the top. So when am I getting it on the bottom? And then we can do a hit of color. And I think it might be a good opportunity to do a hit of color across the entire image because it's a bit of a busy photo. So let's move it down. Word's going to be fun with me. Not a problem. So good sometimes at knowing what you want to do and so lousy in others. So I think when I hit enter here, it's probably going to do it to me again. Oh, it didn't. Very nice. I'd like these two words to be a little closer together. So let's get into the paragraph and reduce them all. Oops, I think I lost the words that I wanted. There we are. Now, hard to read, of course, so let's make it into a white and let's try applying that color behind it. A nice white. And let's flatten everything out because it's kind of a busy photo with a color. So let's add in a shape. Just our square. Now, I'd actually liked the colors that I'd found in these icons. So I really do like this sort of teal that goes off into the yellow. I think that's quite beautiful. And it'll be great too because if we use this same color, and even better if we can use a gradient, it's going to have that consistency of color all throughout. So to get that, we're going to try to apply a gradient to this box here and then have it fade out so we can see the text better. Let's first, though, get the colors. So to do this, we would use a color picker. Now, Word doesn't have a color picker on its own, unfortunately. Hope they added it, honestly, because it's been such a great help with the inside of PowerPoint. But in that case, we can just go to the web, as I mentioned. So if you do a color, just Google search for color picker, you'll find a bunch of free ones. I'm here at CSS color picker, which works great. So let's go ahead and get our teal. Just for speed, let's, I don't think it lets you enter in a hex, so we'll grab the RGB. I just copied that. Gotta just paste it here so I can read it and I don't have to keep jumping back and forth. Okay. Yeah, let's add the color first, then we'll come back to the gradient. So fill colors, RGB, we have 47, 206, 215. There's the one. Let's grab the next. Back to color picker. Let's get all the way as far as we can to this yellow. Yellow almost gold. Really pretty color. Shape fill. More fill colors. Oops, forgot to paste. Silly me. There we go. Format, shape fill, more fill colors. It looks like we have a 229, a 198, and a 53. Great, so this is now loaded up into our recent colors so we can use it anywhere else. Let's see how we can apply a gradient here. So I think I'd like a, let's try a corner one. So it goes from one corner off into the next. Now we need to format the shape though so we can choose the colors. On Word, bringing up here. So to bring this up, which is very useful, right-click, Format Shape, you'll get all these options coming up on the right side. This will also let us play with the transparency when it comes time. So it had a third marker on the inside. Let's say if you want to have 3 colors, so go red to blue to green, or red to blue to yellow, whatever you wanted. I only want the 2. So this color, bring it up, and here's our recent colors we just had. Let's start with that blue, and let's transition to that yellow. So a whole array from the cyan off into the yellow. Very cool. And I kind of like it going from corner to corner. That's sort of a neat effect. Now let's figure out how to make it transparent. Here we go. We might have to do it for both colors from the look of it. So kind of interesting to know too, if you want to start at a blue, go to the same blue, but have it fade out to 0. Looks like we can control that here, but that's for a different time. Let's see, let's try this at 15. I want to see more of the dog. Let's go with 30. Let's try with 40. Okay, same here. Transparency, 40. Now let's get that to the back. All right, looks like we have to do it behind text. And then we'll move this dog photo to the back. And there we have it. Now I kind of want to see more of the dog. I think that's kind of a nice photo. Let's try instead to just have it behind the words. This currently has a border or a line that I want to get rid of. No line, there we are. Let's see. Now this one I'm actually kind of going off of or against the inspiration piece that I found because I'm kind of finding it a bit interesting to just have it hug the bottom. But let's see it through. Let's try to put this here. Let's increase the opacity, and so doing reduce the transparency. Even a little further, I think. Really make sure there's enough contrast when we're seeing that white. Okay. Business dog is looking pretty dapper. Now what we can do for each of these subpages, if we want to continue that color throughout, we can apply it to the top. Now for the simplicity of this demonstration, I'm just going to add it directly to the document. What you probably want to do is add it as a header. So within, if you use Word enough, you know that it has headers and footers. This way you can only have to do it once as opposed to every single page. But as I said, I just want to keep things kind of light. Welcome to our report. I think it'd be a decent argument to say this would be as big a header as the home page. Now let's grab this color. So just a splash of color at the top, and that again was an idea from the inspiration document I had found. Wordage. You can imagine too, if you had sections of your page, you could add a title into each one of these, and then you have this hit of color that's also useful for the reader. Let's make sure this is, now let me grab that edge. All right, nice hit of color. Welcome to our report. The line spacing is looking pretty good. Let's make sure there's enough white space between the previous one and the subheader. We have the dog report, cat report, and I think I'm going to want to put that onto the next page. I don't like it being cut off. Dog report. Let's add in one of those icons to make that more interesting. the dog report. Now let's see if we can move it around the text so it'll. So let's see, ways to do this would be to see if we can square it up so it's not, so just with alignment. I'm not necessarily liking how it's just pushing things around, especially since we have an image, or sorry, a title. There we go. Dog report. Would like a little bit more white space. This feels a little bit crowded, so we'll come back to our white space teachings. Text wrapping. And let's add a little bit more. Let's go with a full 1 centimeter. There, that feels kind of purposeful. I don't like I want this text to be a little closer. Be able to move that down, so let's try that again. Size position, text wrapping, top and bottom. Let's put it at half that. As I said, it's about implementing, experimenting, just keep trying and see where we get to. All right, dog report. Now, of course, I'd assume you'd have some graphics and some charts and everything else. Most ideally, if you did have that, you'd be ensuring that the colors are in the same palette, or at least in neutrals. It's especially useful if the chart is all neutrals, so all gray bars, except for that one hit of color. So you can imagine having all gray bars, but then one that has a gradient in it. Very impactful. So what I'm worried about here is when I select this, if it's going to also try to color the icon. One of those like fun things with words sometimes. Okay, it looks like decent enough contrast that I can read it. I want to pump up the text a little bit more though, make it a bit more prominent. There, that looks nice. Okay, let's see how fast we can do that for the rest of it. All right, we got our main content in. We are looking good. Let's get rid of all this extra on the bottom. So last to do, I think, let's play with white space a bit. So that's looking pretty tight. Now it's not super dense as far as information goes, so I think we'd be well served to work with the white spacing on the left and the right. So remember that white space can be one of the more impactful things, and for reading, it doesn't benefit anybody to have to go big, long strokes. So if we can afford it, let's try to bring both sides in. I'm trying to avoid doing so here on the front page because I don't want to mess up the photo and the layout we've done. So let's try this here. Do 1, 2, 3. Okay, we were here. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remembering that we want to ensure the left and the right is the same. Now let's fix everything that's broken. So you're going to see that with this block, it makes it a bit more interesting. That spacing really draws a focus into the middle. I do not like that being on 2 lines, so let's work with the sizing a bit, see if we can jump it up. Okay, that's nicer. Let's fix the alignment so that the left side of the dog here is matched up with the left side of the text. So, welcome to our report, the dog report, the cat report, coming to you live. So I always recommend with Word saving often, and even saving versions when you get into it, or as you get to something that you kind of like, just because often with these images and text and everything else, something can just jump terribly out of whack, and you don't want to lose all your work. So saving often is always a good policy. In life, as in with Word. All right, let's tighten this guy up here. I think if our jobs were as easy as just producing reports on turtles, cats, and dogs, we would all be much happier. There we have it. So we found a great font pair to use with, in this case, Flamenco and ASAP. I think I'm going to reuse Flamenco a lot in the future myself. found a photo, great photo to use that's in context and would speak to our audience. Found a nice color. In this case, actually, we were inspired for the color from a set of icons we had found. We took the text, we increased the line height, made sure that there was enough difference between the font sizing to have enough impact and contrast, brought some imagery to anchor each of the various pieces of information and also bring some visual interest. And brought in either side, white spacing on the left and the right to bring the text a little bit more into the middle to keep it focused and to help with the design. Oh, actually we forgot color header on the subpages. Squeak that up there. And as I mentioned, again, you would want to more likely put that as a header, as the header footer feature within Word, but it's not going to register and look as nicely because it fades it. So I wanted to avoid that. So we have it. Repetition of color, repetition of fonts, contrast between each. And we have a beautiful looking dog annual report. That wraps it up. On to the next.